friends, Amanda here. Welcome back to Handmade Now Hallmark and my Christmas card series for this year. Today I've got this fun die cut card with just one stamped element. I just love how the snowman turned out. I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my background ready. I have been kind of obsessed with creating these fun craft backgrounds using stamps and some ink blending and some snow splatter. I love how it looks and how it turns out. I think it's a really fun way to add some interest to a background without, having to put too much effort into it. So I'm starting out with a panel of this craft card stock, which I cut out using one of the Simon Says frame dies, which I'm going to be showing you later. And I'm going to be stamping it down with the soft plaid background from Simon with some, excuse me, some distress ink. This is Vintage Photo Distress ink. And I love how this looks on top of craft. I really think, again, it's a nice subtle way to add some interest to the background. I'm going to be adding some plaid in later with some pattern papers, so I think this was a good choice to kind of bring some more plaid in. Going to get that stamped down, and I just love the way that it looks on craft. So much fun. So pretty. I love how, I love this plaid. I've had a lot of plaid stamps in the past, but I think this one's probably my favorite out of all the ones that I've had. I just think it's really versatile and you can use it for any season. Um, I just think it's a really nice background stamp. I'm going to get my MISTI here put away so that I can do some ink blending and get my main background panel ready to go and get it dried. So I've got my waffle flower stencil mat here, and I'm just taking that same distress ink and I'm just going around the edges here just to add some interest and some depth. Again, this has become one of my favorite things to do for this holiday season. I'm not sure, excuse me, if it's just a phase, but I really think it's a fun technique. And I'm also going to add, of course, some white gouache snow splatter because this is a snowy scene and I wanted to make sure I added that as well. Going to use my water. I'm going to spritz it and just flick it. Excuse me, I do apologize. I'm battling a little bit of a cold, so if my voice sounds a little bit funny, I've got this head cold, but I'm on the mend and I'm feeling much better. Gonna get one of my paintbrushes here and I'm just going to tap and get lots of snow here. I really wanted it to be super snowy because I wanted to kind of have the effect of like the snowman, and I'm gonna have some die cut snowflakes a little bit later as well. So here I have got the picture book snowman die set from Simon Says Stamp, and I probably I probably was overthinking the way I wanted to assemble him. So I traced out the main outline of the snowman and I assembled everything on that. That's probably not the best way to do it. I struggled a little bit with a few pieces. So the best way to do it would be to get like a sheet of copy paper and assemble everything out on the copy paper, excuse me, and then trim it out afterwards. This works out just fine if you wanted to do it this way, but I mean, I got it to work. I struggled just a tiny bit with the scarf, but either way, he goes together so easily, and I really think that the color choices that I made, he looks like Frosty from Frosty the Snowman, and I love it so much. I've been kind of obsessed with snowmen lately this season. I think I've done um I'm trying to mentally think of how many snowman themed cards I have, and I have a lot this season. I'm not sure if it's just the year of the snowman, but I have been kind of obsessed with snowmen and I love it. So I just did a lot of pre-die cutting ahead of time from some scraps from my scrap bin. And I just did the black for his eyes, some orange for the nose, and I'm going to add some glossy accents over those a little bit later, and a red stripe for his hat because I'm going to add some more red elements in a little bit later. And I really love this color combination of like reds and blues and craft. I really think it's a fun kind of color scheme for the winter. You can use it for winter and for Christmas. I'm usually a traditionalist when it comes to Christmas, like reds, greens, golds, silvers. But I really like this blue and red and craft color combination. I really think it's a fun way to go with colors. Kind of step away from that traditional color So here's where I kind of struggled a little bit with my scarf. If I would have just assembled him flat onto some like copy paper, I wouldn't have had any issues getting his scarf on. Now, again, I did struggle with it, but eventually I did get it the right way. This is actually a really easy die set to assemble. My brain wasn't working and I totally forgot what I was doing. So this part actually goes on the other side and then you line everything else up. And I did cut this scarf out of some, I think this was lawn fawn. I'm not sure where I got this plaid from, but you could use any pattern paper that you have to create a scarf. You could even match the stripe on his hat to the scarf. I really wanted to add some more plaid to my card. So you'll see this plaid here on him, and then I'll use the same plaid on my main card base as well. Once I get that scarf exactly where I need it, I'm going to go in and add some fun finishing details on my snowman. This die, you could totally leave him the way that he is, and it would look beautiful just like this. I love these picture book dies from Simon. I have a few, and I think they're a really fun way to add some dimension and some die cutting that is really easy to put together. I know that there's some dies out there that are kind of complicated, but these ones are super, super easy. So I'm going to go in with one of my Copic markers. This is a W0, and I'm just going to add some shading to him just to add some interest. You could do this beforehand as well. I really love adding shading to die cuts just to make them look a little bit more interesting and just give them a little bit more character. I added a little bit of shading to the scarf as well. And I'm going to add a little bit of red shading to his hat around that band. Again, just to add some interest. You could definitely leave this off. You don't have to do this. Or you could use some distress inks or colored pencils, anything like that. And I also gave him some rosy cheeks because I think he looks cute with rosy cheeks. I had a few little blemishes on his hat, so I just used my sand eraser to take those away. These little sand erasers are a godsend. They help fix lots of mistakes. So now I'm going to go in and add some of those fun little details. I've taken my Nuvo Aqua Shimmer pen and added shimmer to his little hat and his scarf. And then I'm going to go in with my white gel pen and add some highlights. If this isn't your thing, again, you could totally leave these off. I love adding these to die cuts as well. I really kind of think livens the characters up and gives them some fun interest. Once I get all of those highlights added, I'm going to go over his eyes, his nose, and his little buttons with some crystal drops from Nouveau in Morning Dew. You could easily use glossy accents. I unfortunately have clogged my glossy accent, so I can't get it out of the bottle, so I have to figure out get a new cap for it. But these Nouveau crystal drops work beautifully. I think they dry wonderfully, nice and clear. So this is a good option if you don't have glossy accents. And I'm just going to tap that off to make sure they're kind of settle in to those die cut areas. And he is all finished. I think he is super sweet. I love him so much. Excuse me. Now I'm going to kind of get some of the assembly done on my card. And I apologize that I'm zoomed in really far. I totally forgot that I was zoomed in, but I do zoom out here in a few minutes. This is that other plaid I mentioned earlier that I used in the scarf. And I'm just going to use it as part of a background just to kind of pull some more of that plaid in. So everything is very cohesive and it looks really nice together. And I have it trimmed down just a little bit so there's a nice white border again to bring in some more white and to make everything go really well together. Gonna get that adhered down and get our fun little scalloped frame. So this frame comes from the Simon Says All Frames die set. There's lots of really fun frames in this set, and I haven't used this one in quite a while, but I love the fact that you can create kind of that scalloped look without having this huge sheet of paper, and you can customize it like I did here. I made the frame blue, and then I have that fun craft insert. I really love this. I think this is probably one of my favorite cards I've done so far this year. It's the simplicity of it, and then how everything really goes well together, the color combinations, the plaid. It all just came together beautifully. I love this card so, so much. I'm going to have to make a few more of these because I know a lot of people in my family who would love this card, and I know one person in particular who would because she absolutely adores snowmen. So if you know who I'm talking about, you might get this card for Christmas. Now I wanted to kind of customize my greeting here. I wanted it to say, "'Tis the season to be jolly." And I went through my stash and I found a stamp from the new Mama Elephant Fa La La. And it says, "'Tis the season to be jolly," which was like, oh, this is perfect. However, I wanted it to be in a line. So I'm going to customize it. You could easily cut your stamps apart, but I didn't want to do that with this because it was so tiny. I usually do cut them apart if I have the space, but this one was so small, I decided not to. So what I'm doing here is and I'm sorry I'm off frame. I thought I was in frame, but all I did was I masked off the area that I didn't want, and I'm going to line it up like I want it. So I'm using some Brutus Monroe Alabaster White embossing powder, and I'm going to put the embossing powder on the text that I want, and I'm going to take a dry brush, and I'm just going to brush away what I don't want. So I did have a little bit of stamping there that I didn't want, and I'm going to heat this up, and I'm going to line up the remaining portion of the sentiment next to it so it looks like it all came together in one nice line. So I've got the "'Tis the season," and then I'm going to take the "To be," mask it off all around the areas. And again, I do apologize that I'm off screen. I totally thought I was in screen here, but I wanted to kind of zoom in so you could see the greeting. So here's where I'm lining up the second portion that's going to say "To be." So I'm going to mask off the top that says "'Tis the season," and then the jolly part. So I just have the "To be." This is a really fun way to get more use out of your stamps, and you can really customize and kind of make a really unique greeting. So once I have that all stamped down, I'm going to brush away the excess. I'm going to heat it up, and then I'm just going to cut it out with one of my banner dies, and it will be ready to go on my card as well. So finishing up the rest of the elements here, I have got some letters here that I cut out of some Simon Says Schoolhouse red cardstock and some nice white cardstock. This is the Henry's ABCs from Lawn Fawn. I love this letter die set. So unique and quirky. I think it is perfect for this card, and I just think it's a really fun and whimsical die set. And what I'm doing is just doing a drop shadow effect where I am just taking the red over top of the white and I'm just shifting it before the glue dries to create that fun drop shadow effect, which I love doing. I think it's a really fun way to create some dimension without having to add a ton of layers. And I adhere this nice and flat, but it still looks like it's like a three-dimensional kind of die cut, which is one of my favorite things to do. And I love the fun, quirky way that this text is. You're going to see this quite a lot probably this year because it is so much fun. And I really think it goes well with my snowman. So now we have all of our elements ready. I'm going to stamp on the inside of the card before I get too carried away with adhering everything on the front. So I am taking a greeting from the Holiday Word Mix #1, and I'm going to stamp the wishing you the absolute merriest, joy-filled Christmas ever. I felt like it went really well with my snowman, and it's one of my favorite greetings from this set. I use it quite often in my Christmas cards. And I'm going to stamp it down using some chipped sapphire distress oxide inks. I'm sorry, I'm not using chipped sapphire. I'm using faded jeans. I found faded jeans recently, and I am in love with it. It is a beautiful, nice, soft color. Perfect for this card because it matches with the blues on the outside of the card. And then I'm also going to take a few snowflakes from that same set and just kind of scatter them around my greeting to pull in the snowflakes that I'm going to add to the front of the card. Again, I love kind of making the inside of my card match the outside. If I had a fun, like Frosty the Snowman kind of looking stamp, I would have stamped that on the inside. But I love the way that this turns out. Really cohesive and matches well. And I love stamping with Distress Oxide inks because they have such a variety of colors and they stamp beautifully that you can really easily match it with any project that you're using. They go so well with everything. I love these Oxide inks. I use them for quite a bit. I found myself going, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that I have the regular Distress inks. but these I'm really starting to love these. At first, I wasn't real crazy about them when they first came out because I just couldn't get them to blend right, and I struggled. But I really hung in there and I stuck with it, and now they're some of my favorite inks. So I can't wait to add more colors to my collection. Just gonna hit that with my heat gun so it's nice and dry. So when I close the card, it doesn't get any transfer. Now that all of my elements are ready to go, I can start assembly of the actual finished card. So I'm going to pop the snowman up with some of these scrapbook adhesives, 3D squares. I'm using the larger ones, and he wasn't 100% dry yet, so I'm being very careful not to smudge the crystal drops that I added. And he's really easy to kind of work with. You could easily have added the crystal drops after he was attached to the card, which I don't think about those things until afterwards. I wanted to get him all completely finished before I assembled the card, but they didn't take too long to dry, and they dried beautifully. So I'll get him attached to the card base here and make sure I have room at the bottom for my greeting. And I didn't want him to kind of just float, so that's why I created that "'Tis the Season" banner. So it kind of looks like he's setting on top of that banner. And I'm popping that up with one of the Doris 3M strips. I am trying to very sparingly use these. I know Waffle Flower came out with some recently because Doris discontinued these. So I'm trying to, use them as minimally as possible because they are perfect size for everything. So now I can get my jolly all lined up here, and I wanted to make sure I got it as centered as possible because this is the main greeting and I didn't want it to look a little lopsided, which it probably would have been okay because it's kind of whimsical and fun. But me being kind of the way that I am, I wanted to make sure that it was nice and straight. And I'm going to adhere it down nice and flat with some of this Barely Art adhesive. Gives me just a tiny bit of wiggle room to make sure I get everything nice and lined up. So I'm going to start with the center letter. It was nice that this was an odd number so that I could easily get it lined up just the way that I needed to. And again, I love how this card turned out. I love this color combination. I hope you all are enjoying the series so far this year. I have got so many more ideas coming your way. I have been working very hard to get all of these cards ready, and I'm trying to kind of move out of my comfort zone when it comes to creating cards. I've been trying some new techniques and new styles, so I really hope you enjoy seeing those. And if you have any suggestions or things that you would like to see me do more of, or anything like that, some techniques, styles, anything like that, please just go ahead and leave some comments and I'll try my best to filter those in. Next, I took some of the Lawn Fawn snowflakes. This is from their small set, and I just wanted to scatter some large snowflakes around the background here. And I really think this makes the card all of these fun little snowflakes. And you could use any snowflake dies that you have. You could use embellishments, anything like that. I was tempted to use my uh, Trinity stamps clay snowflakes, but I decided not to on this card. I was really tempted to, and I just decided to use these large snowflakes from Lawn Fawn, and I'm so glad that I did. Again, I still think this is probably my favorite card of the season so far. It came together exactly how I pictured it in my mind, and I make little sketches. That's kind of how I come up with my ideas. I go through my stash and I have a little sketchbook that I draw little ideas, or if I'm watching somebody create something and I kind of think of a way that I can make it into my own, or I'm scouting through Instagram or Pinterest and I'm inspired by something, I'll quickly kind of sketch it out to get the idea going. Next, I'm going to add some more sparkle. I'm going to add it to my Jolly down here, and I'm just using that same Nouveau Aqua Shimmer pen. And then I'm going to go in with my white gel pen, and I'm going to add some highlights to the word Jolly. I love doing this with this particular die set. I think it really makes it look cute and whimsical. I think I saw somebody do it on the Lawn Fawn design team, and it was absolutely perfect. I'm not sure who it was, but it's a really fun idea. And finally, I'm going to go in with some Nouveau Crystal Drops in White Blizzard, and I'm just going to add a drop to the center of each of my snowflakes to add a little bit of sparkle in the background, and tap it off on my ink pad to flatten those drops out. And that will finish up my card for today. I really hope you enjoyed this die-cut snowman card featuring some fun products from Simon's Stamp and Lawn Fawn. I had a lot of fun creating this card, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. If you did, please consider hitting the like button. Lets YouTube know you're enjoying all of the content that I'm bringing to you. And consider hitting the subscribe so you don't miss out on any more content here at my YouTube channel and during my Christmas card series. I'll catch up with you guys again real soon. Bye! On screen, I've got a few videos that I think you'll enjoy. Consider hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more videos at my YouTube channel.